The movie begins with a fleet of government vehicles escorting a young gang member to the courthouse. He is eager to share details about all the mischief his group has been involved in. As they approach the building, they detect the presence of a federal agent named Hell, who is closely monitoring the young man. Suddenly, an unidentified figure appears out of nowhere and mortally wounds the young man. The next scene takes us to a correctional institution where we find Sid, who has just woken up from an afternoon nap. While playing a game of chess, Sid watches as a new prisoner is being harassed by other inmates. Empathizing with him, Sid extends an invitation to play chess, quickly managing to silence the bullies who are intimidated by his attitude. He then decides to help the outsider adapt to life behind bars. The next day, the warden of the prison calls Sid to a room because someone wishes to speak with him. It's Hell, who clarifies that she is on a mission to arrest a gang leader named Muter. She also notes that members of Mutter's gang were supposed to reveal incriminating information in court, but some of them met a dark fate near the courthouse, reflecting the events shown at the beginning of the movie. Curiously, he asks Hell why he must get involved in all of this. And Hell responds that he will be free, but in exchange he must become her vigilant ally to expose Muter. Recognizing that Sid may miss his family after so much time in prison, Hell says she will wait for Sid's decision until the next day. Back in his cell, Sid thoughtfully looks at a photo of his son Johnson, facing the dilemma of whether to accept Hell's proposal. When Hell returns to find out if he has made a decision, Sid confirms that he is willing to collaborate. Hell then reveals the key step. Sid must get the attention of a man named Otto, as a deal with him will be key to infiltrating Mir's operation. In the prison yard, Saw reflects on how to capture Otto's interest and finally decides to confront a cellmate related to Otto, an action that ends up isolating him due to the intervention of a guard. After a brief time in isolation, Otto approaches him and asks him why he had that confrontation. Sid explains that it was a strategic move while waiting for his release. Otto, aware of S's attitude, offers him a job, recognizing his abilities. After his release from prison, Sith is given the condition that he must take care of a matter in cell 157. Reluctantly, he accepts the task and that night goes to the cell to fulfill Otto's instructions. From that moment on, he becomes part of Otto's group, diligently following his orders. When he gets out of jail, Otto informs him that someone will come to pick him up that night. Upon returning to the street, Saeed tries to reconnect with his wife at her work, only to discover unexpected news. His wife is pregnant, but not with his child, which causes an emotional blow. Despite this, he maintains a facade of strength and assures her that what matters most to him is seeing his son Jansen. She agrees, and they arrange to meet the next day. That same night, the people sent by Otto take Side away. However, in the car, the situation becomes tense when Jimmy, an affiliate of Motor, reveals his close ties to the gang leader and severely warns Side about the consequences of betrayal. After the warning, they release Side. The next day, Side visits his ex-wife's house, where he meets her new husband and is finally able to see Janssenen, the son he hadn't seen in a long time. The reunion is somewhat uncomfortable, as Johnson is meeting his biological father for the first time. Afterwards, A meets with Helen, the leader of the federal agents, at an art gallery. She tells him that she needs him to confess all of Motor's crimes so they can pave the way for a normal life, and gives him a GPS device and a recorder for his mission. One night, while Side is in his apartment, Jimmy urgently comes and asks him to join them. Everyone gets in a car, and suddenly Saeed's head is covered with a cloth. They drive to an unknown location, and upon arrival, they discover that they have taken him to treat a gunshot wound in one of the gang members. The surprising thing is that Saeed was a renowned surgeon in the city. When Saeed is about to attend to the wounded man, Jimmy continues to insult him and tells him to leave so he can concentrate on the surgery. However, Jimmy resists, points a gun at him, and says he can't give orders. Fortunately, Mater intervenes and stops the chaos, ordering everyone to leave, as the wound is his nephew's. Taking advantage of his medical expertise, Side manages to extract the bullet from Motor's nephew's leg. Grateful, Motor expresses his gratitude for Side's help. A few days later, Maud, including Side, decides to visit another gang called Boba. Mother asks if Boba wants to start a conflict with them, but Boba replies that he just wants to do business and that they should focus on their own affairs. He also apologizes for shooting Maud's nephew in the leg, explaining that it was in self-defense. Motor tells him that he can do his business in the eastern part of Canada, but that he must still pay taxes to Maud. Then the group returns to their usual meeting place. Side begins to establish friendly relationships with some members of Maud. Shortly after, to his surprise, he sees his old neighbor Didi, now collaborating with Maud. Motor mentions that Didi is one of his main collaborators in drug deliveries and asks Side to leave. As he leaves, Side discreetly places a GPS tracker on Motor's car. Not long after, Jimmy and one of his associates, Michael, arrive accompanied. They order Saw and Michael to transport some drugs hidden in a flower pot and then take different routes to return home. Jimmy warns Side that any mistake can lead to serious problems. Finally, Side and Michael complete the mission. Michael picks up his drug container and leaves. But just as he is about to leave, a group of people quickly ambushes him. Side cunningly places the tracker on the attacker's car. Having no other option, he follows him from a distance and discovers that they are following the headquarters of the Boba group. Side approaches Boba's associates, asking for a meeting and the opportunity to recover the clandestine observation. Since Sade is alone, they let him in. Upon arriving at his base, Boba is impressed by his bravery, although he warns that just that courage does not guarantee his safety, since he plans to deal with him soon. At a crucial moment, Side manages to subdue Boba and recover the stolen drugs, escaping quickly before they can catch him. Back with Mother, Side explains the delay by saying that he was a victim of a robbery by the Boba gang. Mother needs proof, and Side shows him a gun he recovered during the confrontation. Finally, Motor trusts Side and decides to confront the Boba gang. The next day, Side shares all the evidence collected with Helen, asking if it is enough to arrest Motor. She responds no and asks him to continue working undercover until he can arrest him at the opportune moment. Days later, Side meets with Didi, who shows signs of discomfort due to his link with criminals. Side advises him to leave the band if the opportunity arises. And to his surprise, Didi asks him for help. His buyers have not paid and they fear Maud's wrath. Side intervenes, making sure they settle their debts before the situation gets complicated. Later, Saidi, Didi, and Motor's nephew are assigned to a drug delivery. The Boba gang attacks them in the car, causing the tragic death of Motor's nephew. Side and Didi manage to escape, taking refuge in a nearby store. Helen, who has been discreetly monitoring, intervenes to protect them from the Boba gang's revenge. Without them knowing, Didi overhears the entire conversation. Upon returning to Maud's house, suspicions arise. Motor believes that one of his own members has betrayed him, and that the police and the Boba gang know about his delivery plans. Later, Mir and some of his associates meet at their usual place to discuss. Muter has discovered that the traitor within his group is Michael, which leads him to pressure him to confess. Initially, Michael denies having done anything wrong, so Mutter orders Jimmy Side to question him. After enduring great anguish, Michael finally admits that he divulged information about a drug delivery to the Boba gang for fear of his mother's safety. When Muter asks him if he planted a GPS in his car or if he collaborated with the police, Michael assures him that he did not. However, Mir remains skeptical, and this distrust ends tragically with Michael's death. Then Side meets with Hel and gives her evidence, including voice recordings of Muter. In addition to warning her about the recruitment of young people by the gang leader, Side begs her to quickly arrest Muter, feeling the pressure and worried that his identity as an undercover agent may soon be discovered. Hel encourages him to persevere, and assures him that she will arrest Muter the next day. On a more optimistic note, Sid and John enjoy a moment together in the playground. Sid gets closer and closer to his son by participating in games that fill Johnson with joy. Meanwhile, Motor intensely questions Didi to understand how they managed to escape from the recent attack by Boba. Didi finally admits that the police intervened and rescued them, surprising Motor, who also secretly listens to Sid's words. On another occasion, he realizes that Sid has been an undercover agent for the police all this time. Shortly after, while heading home, Motor and his gang ambush Saw and Jansen with the intention of eliminating Sid. Upon discovering his role as a spy, they almost manage to finish him off, but Sid manages to deceive his attackers and takes his son to safety at his ex-wife's house. Before Jansen gets out of the car, Sid apologizes for not having been the best father. When he tries to return to his apartment, he receives an urgent call from Helen informing him that his cover has been discovered. But before the call ends, Motor's men surprise him and quickly take him to a car that will transport him to a dark place where a torture situation awaits him. Upon arrival, Motor demands to speak with Saeed by phone and expresses severe warnings. Johnson and his ex-wife will face serious consequences for his betrayal. Said begs him to forgive his loved ones, but Motor does not listen to his pleas. Jimmy mentions that he himself will supervise the damage and asks if Sid has a final message. At that moment, Sid discreetly works to free himself and in a decisive action manages to attack Jimmy and subdue him. Sid then quickly heads to Motor's headquarters with the intention of eliminating his entire gang. He makes drastic decisions, including taking a person's life before arriving and ordering the elimination of all members of MOD. When he arrives at the offices, Motor is no longer there, but he finds a group of newly recruited young people whom he disarms and advises them to return home, including Didi. Just as they leave, Motor suddenly appears and shoots him in the leg, leaving him lying on the ground. When Motor is about to deliver the final blow, Didi returns with his pistol and points it at Mod, realizing that he has taken a wrong path. Taking advantage of that opportunity, Sid shoots Motor, putting an end to his nightmare. Finally, Sid asks Didi to swear that he will never get involved in the world of crime again. The moral of this story is that even in the darkest circumstances, people can find redemption and correct their past mistakes.